Now, welcome to this kind of new little video. I made a Mega Man review about Mega Man stages of their best and worst, so it's time to try something more modern in form of Hitman stages. And because Bird of Assassination Trilogy only has something like a 15, didn't do the exact counting before stating this. It is time to stages. It is time to review all of them in three criteria, which is to say in believability, visual style, and how fun they are. Basically, just that how good these levels are as a general sense. So let's just start, and I'm going to use it using the game mode of contracts, which basically means that you can just make your own missions, wander around the stages, kill people, decide that that person has to be killed, and then you just make them something like, well, it's quite fun game mode, basically giving you endless amount of replayability of the game by deciding that that guy has to be killed, and then you just share it online. But it's time to start with the, of course, first Hitman, and can go right to the end. Except I'm gonna skip the tutorial stages and the final stage of the Hitman 3 because they aren't that interesting places. So let's just start. And here it is, the Paris fashion show within Palais de Vasilevska, and I can assume that Agent 47 either walked in or was delivered with that limousine. But this is just, you could say, a perfect introduction to the world of Hitman games, which is to say it is classy and that kind of visually very impressive and you could say almost glamorous location, but glamorous location with all these cars, nice sets, and of course this huge palace right in the middle of Paris, which is of course being a location of the fashion show. So you could say that the visual styling of this first stage is very impressive, making the huge palace with all the, and of course the amount of big crowds that they've been added, and of course many practically I would say lots of people characters added here, and of course they're showing that you can basically start the missions real fast by just starting to shoot the guy, but that is not just the basic thing. There's all as interesting little details. Of course there's all the security people around here, but then there's also this whole huge fashion catwalk with all the necessary tidbits, and even a backstage location, which of course makes the place even more, you could say, believable with all the basic different locations, and of course some little dialogue to spice up the stylings. So this was basically how the stage is introduced. But it's time to go and look out the other more interesting locations around the place. Doors, of course, everything, because this is a old and fancy palace. There's all kind of ornamented doors, lots of things, and most likely, well, just a little item gathering, just to make sure that and of course there's also the fancy bar and equally fancy outside area. So let's just go and look out the some other interesting locations this place has, this huge palace complex. Now at the higher third floor of, which is to say the highest floor of the palace, there's of course, well, that's Napoleon. There's this super James Bond villain auction about all the secret spy data being sold around, and of course Agent 47 can just waltz in right in and look quite unimpressive and belong like it just would belong right in here. So this is a very, you could say, interesting detail, showing that the world of Hitman is not. Stories are basically violent and gritty, but it is not that kind. You could say really seriously taken. It has way too much humorous elements
I
in
don't
it.
believe we've had the pleasure, Mr.
Reaper. Tobias Reaper. I'm a friend of Victor's.
I see. I wish I had been informed. Well, no matter. Do enjoy the auction, Mr. Reaper. I will see you later.
Looking forward to it.
And of course, this little bland encounter with a actual, you could say, main villain of this mission, Dahlia Margolis, is just a little bit of a humorous incident that can happen in this location. So let's just go and see some other interesting places, or interesting place. And of course, the top floor also has this very large, you could say, attic filled with all kinds of creepy locations and structures and storage stuff, showing that yeah, this is a quite a fancy place, but not that fancy. And let's just knock that guy down just in case. And of course, this location's interesting detail is also in the fact that, well, let's knock him out as well. Is of course in here it should be. In this long, way long ahead of this fancy kind of little or little meetings. This little side room, spooky as hell, weird as hell, including the awe-inspiring vampire magician outfit with a swooshy cape. So, which I do like this kind of little nice detail that they've added. There's this extra room, basically empty, and it has this nothing but a disguise there, which is real fun. This detail they've added. So, but it's time to actually go to some other locations in here as well. And of course, when it's a matter of the fancy location, there's of course you could say a fancy garden with at the beach of Seine. And all that kind of little nonsense. And of course they've also added a little bit of a hedge maze location there as well, just to make sure that the palace actually feels very believable. And of course, there's also a place for a huge helipad as well. So just open up the gate while I'm at it. And walk around this fancy garden as well. As a general rule, I would say that the Palais Vasilevska, which is, or you could say the location of the showstopper, is perhaps is very credible. As much as you can say that these kind of little locations can be credible, video game locations can be. It is not modeled after any real location, but it is, you could say, real enough to be real fun and interesting to study or look around and explore. So I would classify this as one of the better stages of Hitman, or at least the first. But I could say that the design choices to make this first level are extremely solid, knowing that how the general styling of the stages are. So let's just beat this guy head with a hammer as a finisher, drag him over and sink him to the... Actually, let's not sink him to the river, and pick up my explosive duck. And let's go and of course place it right over here. And see does Agent 47 fly to the river himself as a magnificent conclusion. No, he doesn't. And as a final judgment, I will state that the Vasilevska is a good opening, a really good stage first, so that the player gets drawn in to the story, and that also applies to other forms of medium as well, or better say narrative forms, but it's quite prominent in gaming as well. Final score is at the screen as Agent 47 crashes to the next stage. And Sapienza, Italy. The first stage, Paris, was a stopped palace in Paris, which gave it a, you could say, closed feeling. This is basically a real small village in Italy, and it is just loaded with nice little details. Of course, there's being all these ships at the Mediterranean Sea, beautiful landscape with a nice looking cloud box. Yeah, and I'm using some, although that's how I guessed it, that the whole big 3D model has been surrounded with this kind of skybox or sphere, making it look like there's a actual real sky in this place, and of course light sources and all that. The stage is actually really good with all this, with the fancy Villa Caruso being the really nice place, and of course there's all these ice cream stores, and of course that's pizza place, that's pizzeria. Real interesting location, and that's ice cream store. There's all, and as much as I can say, there's been the Italian written is quite credible. So I would say that this feels very real location in Italy. I haven't been in Italy, but I can't guess that some sort of small Italian towns or villages have this kind of architecture of quite narrow streets, all the walkways and all that, because well, they are being old. So let's just look at some other interesting little details this location have outside this actually really nice and beautiful looking city part. Is of course the church. Church is big building because, well, I'm not expert, but I guess that the religion has quite heavy influence or has some muscle in Italy. So them being a bit aware of it is quite interesting nice little detail that they added this whole big church building into the game, and which of course means that it can be that Agent 47 can just walk in catacombs or sewer system, however you want to call it, which of course adds even more interesting little details, and they are completely optional. There's no reason to walk through all these catacombs and tunnels this city has. They're just there as a interesting little place to explore. I don't even remember did they even have, but it's just a nice little interesting little detail. And of course the most dominant feature of the stage is Villa Caruso, which is with its multiple levels and quite maze-like building. So but let's just go and yes, and this stage has after the general impression of Mediterranean. Right at the beginning, near the pizzeria, there's a actually little interesting detail of there being an actual ICA safe apartment, which is to say a base for Agent 47 or some other ICA employee to go around and work things and just generally be a nuisance to others. That just made some noise to cause a little panic. Just being because Agent 47 does have a lot of trolling in him. Bang 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 bang, and no fingerprints because he has where he wears gloves. So let's just look at the other interesting little other detail these stages has, and of course flag of Italy. Now, in addition to church and Villa Caruso, which I have not been explored thoroughly, mostly because, well, of course the lower end laboratory, there's also this real nice fancy, you could say, office of you could say, one of the few honest men in Volo Sapienza, the lawyer. So, and of course this location is not just a interesting little detail, it plays a little bit different role in another extra wall variation, and as a little humorous little detail, there's you could say something like an anachronism, because, well, guy has made a colorful art, and let's throw a briefcase to his head as a little ending show to the gay games. Yeah, there's a filthy hippie in here. So let's just, as I drag him, put on the final scores of the stage, of this stage right here, which is very fun, and with a little and with the final. And it's time to end this stage by him falling over the edge, like this. And Marrakesh, the stage in which there is very well. It feels. This is a stage which also because I don't know what kind of layout in Marrakesh actually has, but it also has same kind of realistic feel as in Sapienza has, which is to say, there's streets of the narrow streets, bazaar, lots of people walking around. And generally you could say that feels very well. Setting of Hitman games is, you could say, semi-realistic in sense that there's practically no science fiction or fantasy elements inside the games itself. Well, of course, all the gameplay conveniences like radars and Hitman sense and all that, they can be explained away with a player conveniences. So, but of course, this stage is also the first one which starts to show that the game necessities of gameplay might affect how interesting the set is, even though, because this set has basically two fortresses, which is to say locations that the Age of 47 cannot just waltz in and needs to have a disguise or something like that. You could say dangerous locations to be in if you don't belong there, which I would find is quite strange, but because, well, there should be a ability to walk around the embassy in civilian outfit, but because I would assume that embassy, especially if it's that large location, would have enough people that everybody doesn't know everybody, and Age of 47 should at that sense be able to walk around undetected. But that is just one location, so in general sense you can say that the location is quite realistic in that sense, but not that realistic if you actually when you actually look about how they are, how closely things are and all that. So let's just go and check out the another first. And of course, getting there demands a little bit of a sneaky infiltration inside location inside. And do I have anything to bash? Nervous and run away over this place. Yeah, because I didn't have anything blunt to throw into his head, throw into his skull. I had to just poke him. But it doesn't really matter. And of course, now I'm already at the trespassing part. Yep. Real strange that this area is not automatically hostile, despite it being a military base or militarily used base with a interesting, with all kinds of Get down. You go down, and I'm gonna knock you out. And I'm gonna steal your clothes as well. So, about the school building, I feel it might, in a sense, be quite realistic location. Now, as it is a bombed-out school, it should be quite, you could say, real in that sense. There's dartboards, central radio, which I'm gonna turn on just to be a troll, because the 47 does have a sense of trolling in him. Couple of layers. There's the guy being tortured. Printing press that somebody can actually be thrown into, which is gory and humorous.
Granted, but yes,
Generally, this location feels very much like a old, bombed out school with all the maps, set pieces, and all that interesting little details. Which, well, I don't think schools should be used like this. But that is how it is. So it's just time to go ahead to check out the other fortress location, which is to say the embassy. And it is best done in disguise. Even though there's a interesting little, well, disguises are essential part of Age of 47's methods. So it's time to just walk right inside the embassy using the secret tunnel system. And let's grab take some coins while I'm at it. Yeah, look real. Those troops look real tough and well equipped and competent. As long as they don't face anybody real competence. That's the general sense that the story also gives about one of the targets, General Zayden. That he's real tough and competent and all that. As long as nothing really actually competent comes against him. Which of course basically fits quite well with the general tone of the story set. And of course this little bleak tunnel, of course, going straight to the main location. And here's the embassy going downhill and all that. Simple, not necessarily beautiful location, because, well, this stage is very much goes not into unbeautiful stage. It is very grimy, dirty, unpleasant location, which does have, well, let's just burn that using the super key. And now let's waltz inside the embassy, which does look like it would be under siege, with people being very nervous, spooked, and all that. And with Age of 47 being very capable of causing all kinds of things, things are quite.
Connie Engstrom reported the reception desk. That was Connie Engstrom. Please go to the reception
is anyone there?
Yeah. Yeah, I stole his clothes as well. So, but the story, yeah, paper trash, all kinds of things that looks like people would be very fast and very able to leave the place real quickly if the situation goes dire enough. And of course, I did quite accidentally cause the whole embassy to panic because of my pressing of fire alarms, which Age of 47 loves to do. And of course, here's the massage room, which would allow 47 to basically do whatever there is.
Understood.
And you could say that the interesting details of this stage, well, visual stylings and gameplay, to keep it interesting and challenging, is going over the necessity of the realistic of stylings of these, meaning that this stage works as a gameplay location, but in that kind of sense it ain't so good as a real-ish look. Ending score is right in here once as the Agent 47, well, picks lock and gets caught because he just picked up a lock. Final score will be tallied. And now,
Welcome to the Hitman Hotel.
Ymmärrettävä Hotel, aka Club 27 mission in Bangkok. Once again, not a location which has a reason of why it is basically geographically isolated. It is the fact that it's this really big, nice hotel. I don't know, is it located on lake or artificial lake or something, but it's a real nice hotel. And I do know about hotels is that they are real big locations. They can be really big locations, especially this one. And there's one of the main targets of the Club 27 mission. Can it be killed? And of course, because it is a hotel, which you could say a completely, well, not this hotel is not real, but because of it has almost everything that real hotel would need. It has a restaurant in it. It has a restaurant in it. It has a reception area in it. And of course, because it being what it is.
Checking in.
Oh, hello.
Name's Tobias Reaper.
Thank you so much, sir. Here's your keycard. Welcome to the Hitman Hotel.
And of course, Agent 47 can be very polite. And he wears even sunglasses because he's cool. And well, but still again, because it's hotel, it's basically two big side buildings, which of course at this range there's the suite, there's the hotel bar, which has this kind of sense, feels very credible, luxurious, beautiful building, hotel with all the hotel amenities and all that kind of things there should be. And of course, let's just use the keycard to just inspect how actually big and grand this hotel really is, which is to say a lot. Boy, especially the bathroom, which is very big, and the room's main room and the bedroom. So these basically are not, you could say, I would not call these even hotel rooms. I would call these damn hotel suites. Even though there's even a fancier location right upstairs once I go there. Jump. Can't get in because there's guards, but that is easily solved by an interesting detail. These doors. So let's just turn on the telefunken and see does it work? Do anything? No, it doesn't. Yeah, I could have just gone and knocked that guy out, but there's no point. Hotel security guards. No reason to pick up, to make them antagonize them any more than need to, which Agent of 47 actually doesn't need to do it at all. So, but it's time because it's time to walk into the, let's say, the grim and dreary basement part of the building. And slip right through to the downstairs, which I would assume that many of the, you could say, the bulk work of the hotel needs is done. There's storages for food supplies or food. That was close. I was almost caught. But let's just steal his hotel staff outfit. And while I'm at it, let's just put him to the box as well. Just to make sure that I can walk around more freely. Because I intend to investigate this location. So with a bit of disguise change, way more doors are now open to Age of 47. Well, like the... Maybe I should go and fetch the master keycard, which is can be found in the cellar area, basement area of the stage. And of course, basement is a bit of a complex location because, well, it's the basement of a large hotel meant to cater to lots of international guests and all that. But now I get the full access card to go basically everywhere in the hotel because I now got the key. Somebody just spotted that, hey, 6 foot plus white guy is not actually an employee of this place. But the others don't notice that, which is kind of humorous, but well, it's a gameplay mechanic, but you can explain that why there's a gameplay mechanic. Is that somebody remembers that the hotel hasn't hired somebody like Age of 47, even if he wears a proper uniform. And I do say that in this stage the inclusion of gameplay mechanics works well with the basic styling. And here's the actual, you could say, suite. Really fancy, really big, really beautiful luxuriously beautiful location. And of course there's also the recording studio at the other side, and the humorously little creepy stalker guy, which Age of 47 just knocks out completely because, hey, it's Age of 47. And he could be killed, and if you take his disguise, there's the interesting detail of whole hotel becoming hostile area. Yeah, that guy is real creepy. So, and there's no, actually, you could say, any kind of point actually just going there and taking that outfit. It's just basically quite humorous. And of course there's this big main courtyard that you can explore, study, inspect, all kind of, and this area is quite, well, the basic mission would show that why you would go there, but generally there's not much reason. Well, of course depends on how you want to do this. And of course opening with the key card gave us a bit interesting little details, like here's the band recording crew outfit, which allows to infiltrate the actual recording studio where the other target is. So let's just go and look at that place, because this place, despite being quite complex in layout and structure, isn't that complex in general sense, because it's meant to be hotel. It's not meant and you could say almost realistic hotel, in sense that they really don't want the people that if something goes wrong, they really don't like making it too difficult, or let's say too complex. And yeah, so now it's the recording studio, which is of course completely different location. It's got all the band, all the recording studio stuff, instruments, hammer. Let's make noise, just because Age of 47 is a troll. And just look around this place. This is, as much as hotels go, this is where you could say quite realistic location, as much as I can say. So there's not much really to say about their design. It feels very realistic location that Age of 47 would be. Or to say, it could be a set for all kinds of interesting gameplays. Hell, it could be even work in a movie set. And of course, here's the. And here is of course the main location that where Age of 47 can do, you make use of his dramatics. Skills of dramatics, like go into this little room and generally be a complete asshole. So let's just do a suicide, mirror suicide, and put on the final scoring of the stage. Now, Colorado stage. And this one is quite interesting because the whole map is hostile area initially to Agent 47. So there really is no safe location 47 can just waltz into and then benefit from being able to walk around. So in this stage, disguise is not so much recommended, it's mandatory, which I find to be both interesting little gimmick because, well, this is completely very private location that nobody would want Agent 47 anybody to be stumbling around, trespassing, you could say. But that would also mean, but it doesn't really change things differently. Well, because, well, hey, the basic instruction of the stage, get a disguise, and after that it's just business as always. Take out the guy, take out his suit. Yeah, now I'm at the assault squad, and let's just pop the guy. Oh, he was black. That guy is a dark. He was dark skinned. Well, nothing about that. Let's just grab him and put him to the box so I can just waltz around. And well, this stage is well, I really don't know. Is any real American farm did they have this kind of really big two-floor mansions in there? And all these really big barnyard locations. I really don't know how credible this is as a real-ish location, but it does have feeling that, well, because this is not basically a farm, it's more like a converted terrorist training camp or militia training camp and whatever. It's something that the designers can go quite wild in the sense that, yeah, it's a farm, or at least part of farm, which has been converted into training camp for some sort of militarists or militias. So there really isn't that kind of, you could say, stretching of credibility, because, well, it still basically has to fence training area, and of course then there's also these farm equipment and all that. I don't know, do they actually even still practice farming, or is it just some sort of old remnants around here? But location itself feels quite credible with all the car repairing gear and all that. With a wrench and all the wrench. Ability to become technician. All kinds of things to cause accidents because of, well, location being what it is. And of course there's also this training area with all the equipment, gear and stuff. And generally going for and then the main building, which of course includes all the other little interesting little details. Stage like this could and should have. Like, let's just take the militia elite outfit now, and of course, well, there's a lot. This is basically all the pseudo-realistic location. In the sense that there's no really hard to say that what it would be in real life, but it has all the things that you would expect this place to have in real life. It has training areas, it has communications places, it has places for management and all that. It's in a sense that kind, and there's also even places for the militia people to relax and wind down. So it is impossible to say how real this location is, but it feels credible in sense that whatever there might be problem is being thought out before possible changes or difficulties there might be. And I did just wreck the cameras just out of habit. But in general sense, this location is interesting, but it ain't that, because well, it feels kind of cluttered, being this kind of spaces, people, and all that. But general sense is that the location is quite interesting, and yoy! Let's annoy Sean Rose a real big time. Man who had a quite complex personality and several ways to cause him some real damage difficulties. Oh, so it's just time to, and I would say that this location is, it works as a gameplay location, but it isn't that, we could say, real fun as a, it doesn't feel real-ish. It's a good gameplay location, but it ain't that, we could say, plausible feeling stage. So, and let's just lob out some nitroglycerin as the final score tells, as the final whimsical score tells up to the screen. And Age of 47, even relaxing, doesn't look that relaxed. But final stage of Hitman 1 or Hitman 2016, however you want to call it. It's a real nice stage in the sense that how it is designed. It's got a very intricate gameplay mechanics, which is to say, like the doors opening and closing because of the appropriate or inappropriate disguise you are wearing. And generally all the little that kind of nice details, and of course there's also one of the targets already, which I could be murdering brutally, but I am not. Age of 47 is not here to murder any of those that kind of people right now. So, but it's time to take a disguise, which Age of 47 actually can make use of. There's a guy coming up. Yeah, because well, originally this stage means that you don't have a any equipment initially. You don't have a gun. You don't have any tools. You have nothing, which would of course make it completely different stage. I mean, but with all the gear, by playing getting the full mastery of level 20 in this, makes it completely different, because Age of 47 can now just waltz around as he, well actually I forgot, but you can say that this location is really impressive in sense that they added all these nice little mountains around it, make it look really impressive with the radio masts, mountain ranges and all that, because it's in Hokkaido. I don't know, is that real landscape from Hokkaido, or just did the Danish guys who make these games pull them out of their ass, or invented it from their imagination? Because when you say that somebody pulled something out of their ass, means that they just haphazardly slapped something together without caring anything about it. But when you say that somebody used their imagination instead, means that they actually had much better idea of what they were doing and what they were supposed to be doing, instead of just slapping things together however they felt like it. But generally you could say that this stage has, well, this kind of fancy hospital, has all the necessary spaces it needs to be. It's got all the fancy thingamajiggeries. There's crew locations for the people, staff to be in, with all these, they called it coffin hotels or box hotels or whatever you want to call it. Small sleeping space, but they do say that they are quite comfortable. And of course this little interesting little dance mat, which Agent 47 can actually get a best score by with a ninja outfit, which is a really fun detail. Yeah.
That's a little harsh, isn't it? A total ban.
And of course, because this location is something like a
Aquariums always fill me with
tries to
such
be almost realistic
calm.
location, there's all these little sideway facilities that you can be called, and there's the yoga instructor going around with a limp. Even if a guy is flexible enough to make himself a pretzel, he wasn't flexible enough.
I noticed that.
Heard him complain about it.
So there's plenty of these kind of little interesting little side areas and directions Agent 47 can go, and you go down. And of course, because well, stage feels very realistic in this kind of sense, this kind of secret, or better say fancy private hospital where professional ethics are quite questionable, because hey, why would you have any ethics when you just can tinker around with all kinds of questionable experiments, like yeah, there's this guy getting a right-sided heart transplant, so where we get the heart, I don't know, we just got one. Oh,
What's this guy's problem?
well, that was quite pointless move. But still, going up higher stairs to the surgical areas, which of course feel very, well, amount of guys with guns doesn't feel that real even in Japan, where there's quite heavy laws about firearms. Well, the assassination of Shinzo Abe did not even use a proper gun, it was homemade, something like a zip gun, historical reference, and that. But well, which of course, well, gameplay wise, guards with guns makes sense, but in a, you could say, realistic location, they don't make that much sense, having, well, guys with submachine guns and assault rifles waltzing around. So you can say that this set was, or is, very interesting in sense that what it has, what it can do, what it shows, but it ain't. Well, it feels very realistic, real location in that sense, but it doesn't feel real in the sense that it would be, well, it fits well with the game, but I don't know, but it doesn't that kind of sense feel that it played with too much necessities for the gameplay interesting. So yeah, the gameplay of this stage is interesting. I will say the stage and the gameplay work together together in this case, making sure that the immersion, or we'll say sense of realism, doesn't really break in this stage, even when the necessities of gameplay come to play. They really don't break that badly, and which I do find to be quite good design for this stage. So, but the final stage tally comes right here. One stage of 47 goes and bashes a few heads in with a crowbar. And gets shot to death. Well, actually, maybe not yet, but still waltzes around carrying a crowbar and generally not being a really professional. He should be. So, but the final score is about to be tallied right here. And jump off the edge and go to slide down.
November Zulu, over.